Hey friend, how are you today? Hope you're doing well. Because today's story, this one might make you look at your favorite holidays a little differently. Just a little, or a lot. We love our holidays, right? They give us a break from the grind. They bring people together. They fill the calendar with things to look forward to: food, gifts, fireworks, glitter, love. But what if those moments of celebration were also, unintentionally, a little twisted? There's a theory out there, half philosophy, half cultural critique, that our modern holidays are more than just traditions. They're reflections of the seven deadly sins, and not in a fire and brimstone way. This isn't a sermon. This is more like anthropological tea. Because when you start to really look at how we celebrate, the patterns are hard to ignore. So today, we're walking through the calendar, sin by sin, from gluttony to pride, and asking the question, are we just having fun, or have the sins gone seasonal? Let's start with the most delicious one. If there was ever a holiday that leans fully into indulgence, it's Thanksgiving. Originally, Thanksgiving was meant to be a moment of gratitude, a time to stop, reflect, and give thanks for the harvest, for family, and for making it through another year. The story most of us learn in school goes back to the Pilgrims and Native Americans in 1621, sharing a meal to commemorate survival and community. But here's the thing. The Thanksgiving of today, it's less about humble gratitude and way more about the feast. The average Thanksgiving dinner today clocks in at over 3,000 calories. That's more than most people need in a whole day. And for many of us, it's not just dinner. It's appetizers, drinks, desserts, leftovers, second helpings, whole casseroles made of marshmallows and sugar pretending to be vegetables. And culturally, we kind of romanticize it. We expect to be overly full. We joke about unbuttoning our pants or going into a food coma. It's all part of the script. But gluttony, as one of the classical deadly sins, is more than just eating a lot. It's about overconsumption, obsession, consuming more than what's necessary to the point that it becomes wasteful or even harmful. And that part is worth thinking about. According to the USDA, Americans waste over 200 million pounds of turkey every year during the holidays. That's just the turkey. So we went from a spiritual harvest meal to throwing out enough food to feed entire nations. And look, I'm not saying don't enjoy Thanksgiving. It's cozy, it's nostalgic, it's built into American identity. But when we hold a mirror up to it, it kind of does look like gluttony got a holiday all to itself. Studio microphone, all right? So now that we've rolled ourselves away from the Thanksgiving table, let's talk about the next stop on the calendar. The big one, Christmas. Christmas. The lights, the carols, the snow. Unless you live in LA like me, in which case it's maybe rain, if we're lucky. Anyway, Christmas is easily the most iconic holiday in the Western world. It's got deep religious roots, of course. For Christians, it's the celebration of the birth of Jesus. But if you ask the average person what Christmas means to them, you're probably going to hear words like family, gift, Santa, and shopping. That last one, let's just say greed has been working overtime in December. Let's break it down. The commercial machine. Back in the early 1900s, Christmas started becoming commercial. But it really exploded post-World War II, when consumerism took over the American psyche like a new religion. Department stores created dazzling window displays. Brands started pushing products specifically as holiday must-haves. And of course, Santa Claus got his now iconic makeover from Coca-Cola in the 1930s. Coincidence? Not at all. Today, the holiday season is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. In the US alone, retail sales during November and December reach well over $900 billion. That's more than the GDP of some entire countries. All for a day that was once about humility, community, and a baby born in a manger. Now we've got kids writing 10-page wish lists. Parents going into debt to make Christmas magical. People trampling each other in Walmart parking lots on Black Friday, which, let's be honest, might as well be renamed National Greed Day. The rise of more. And the pressure? Oh, it's real. We're expected to give big, decorate big, celebrate big. There's this underlying competition. Who put up the most lights? Who gave the best gifts? whose tree looks like a Pinterest board. Greed isn't just about hoarding wealth. It's about always wanting more, never feeling like enough is enough. And Christmas, as we know it today, feeds that desire in designer wrapping paper. It even spills into our emotional lives. There's this unspoken rule that you must feel joyful, that this day must be perfect, that your family must be whole, that you're supposed to give selflessly, but also expect the same in return. Which makes you wonder, have we taken the baby in the manger and built a capitalist empire around him? Debt, depression, and denial. Here's a sobering stat. According to LendingTree, more than 1 in 3 Americans take on debt to pay for Christmas gifts, and many of them are still paying it off by the next holiday season. And yet, we do it again and again. Because when everyone else is doing it, when the music's playing, when your inbox is full of last chance to save emails, it's hard to resist. That's how greed works. It wears a cozy sweater and calls itself tradition. And I get it. Christmas has its magic. The nostalgia, the movies, the cookies. But somewhere along the line, the sacred and the sales pitch got all tangled up. And now, it's hard to tell them apart. Okay, so we've eaten too much, we've spent too much. Now let's talk about the one that gets a little steamy. Valentine's Day, February 14th. Hearts, roses, chocolates, candlelight. It's marketed as the day of love. But when you look under the shiny red foil and romantic Instagram captions, Valentine's Day might be the most sensualized holiday of them all. And that brings us to sin number 3, lust. But first, a quick history lesson, because this holiday didn't start with Hallmark. The pagan roots. Long before Cupid took aim at your wallet, the ancient Romans were throwing down at a little festival called Lupercalia. Held around mid-February, Lupercalia was a fertility ritual involving blood, goatskin thongs, and a whole lot of public nakedness. Yeah, it wasn't exactly a candlelit dinner for two. During the festival, young men would run through the streets, lightly whipping women with strips of animal hide to increase their fertility. Women, by the way, lined up for it. Because back then, fertility was power. By the 5th century, the Christian church had had enough of the goat whipping and pagan chaos. So they repackaged the date as St. Valentine's Day, in honor of one or more early Christian martyrs named Valentine. Romantic, right? But hey, race the twist. The connection between St. Valentine and romantic love didn't really catch on until the 14th century, when the poet Geoffrey Chaucer linked the feast day with courtly love in his writings. From there, it snowballed. From poetry to perfume ads. Fast forward to today. Valentine's Day is a full-blown industry, and its main product? Desire. Billions of dollars are spent every year on roses, chocolates, lingerie, perfumes, spa dates, and hotel getaways. And the marketing? Oh, it's subtle like a sledgehammer. Everything is red. Everything is hearts. Every ad tells you, if you love them, prove it with stuff. Sexy stuff. Shiny stuff. Expensive stuff. And if you're single, you're either told to treat yourself or reminded just how single you are. That pressure, that obsession with coupling, that over-sexualized portrayal of romance, it's not love. It's lust in a tuxedo. Lust is currency. Lust is a tricky sin. It's not just about sex. It's about using others, or even yourself, as objects of desire. It's love stripped of connection. And Valentine's Day, it can lean real hard into that territory. You've got lingerie campaigns that focus more on fantasy than intimacy. You've got influencers selling idealized relationships in picture-perfect posts. You've got dating apps with massive spikes of activity leading up to the day. None of this is bad, necessarily. But when the entire cultural narrative becomes, you must be desired to have value, that's when it tips from celebration into sin. So yeah, Valentine's Day. It's not just about Cupid's arrow, it's about everything that comes after it. So now we've made it through winter's greatest hits, turkey, tinsel, and tempting lingerie. But once the champagne is popped and the countdown hits 0, we wake up to something a little less sparkly. January 1st, New Year's Day. It's a strange one, isn't it? So much build-up. Fireworks, parties, promises of a fresh start. But the reality of the day itself? Kinda slow, hungover, foggy, blank. And it's the perfect stage for sin number 4, sloth. But let's clear something up first. Sloth isn't just about being lazy. It's not hitting snooze or watching Netflix. In its traditional sense, sloth is spiritual apathy. It's stagnation. It's neglecting the things you know matter in favor of comfort, numbness, or inaction. And wow, does that sound like January 1st? The day of doing nothing. Let's paint the picture. You wake up late. The confetti's still stuck to the carpet. There's glitter in your hair and champagne in your bloodstream. Your phone is full of Happy New Year texts from people you haven't seen since high school. You might make brunch. You might lie on the couch. You might think about your New Year's resolutions, but actually doing something about them. That's what tomorrow is for. It's not that people are lazy. It's that we've set ourselves up to crash. The night before is all about excess. Big emotions, big drinking, big declarations. And then the next day, silence, guilt, regret, and sometimes emotional numbness. We're trained to start the new year resting, but we rarely talk about whether we're actually recharging or just shutting down. Resolutions and reality. Every year, millions of people write down New Year's resolutions. Lose weight, save money, be more present, learn a language. But according to research, 80% of those resolutions are abandoned by February. February. That means by the time you're opening your third box of Valentine's Day chocolates, your goals are already on life support. And maybe that's because we overload ourselves. We go from sloth to superhuman overnight, and it just doesn't stick. There's no system, no plan, just a vague hope that this year will somehow be different. So what do we do instead? We scroll. We snack. We sink into the same couch grooves from the year before, convincing ourselves we're just taking it easy. But sloth isn't about rest. Rest is essential. Sloth is what happens when rest becomes avoidance, when stillness becomes fear, when comfort becomes an excuse to check out. And New Year's Day, it quietly enables that. So yeah, the day that's supposed to launch a new you might just be the one that keeps you exactly where you are. All right, friends, time to turn down the lights and put on something spooky. We've arrived at the dark carnival of the calendar, Halloween. And behind the candy and costumes, there's a lot of rage just beneath the surface. Welcome to wrath. Of all the 7 deadly sins, wrath is the one that's easiest to justify. It's righteous. It's reactive. It feels powerful. And when you look at how we celebrate Halloween, you can start to see how it channels some very old, very deep anger. But first, let's rewind. The ancient origins of fear. Halloween's roots go all the way back to the Celtic festival of Samhain, celebrated over 2,000 years ago in what is now Ireland. Samhain marked the end of the harvest and the beginning of the dark season. It was believed that on October 31st, the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead was at its thinnest. People lit bonfires, wore disguises, and made offerings to spirits, mostly out of fear. Not the fun kind, the real kind. Wrathful spirits, angry ancestors, and vengeful entities were believed to roam freely. And to stay safe, humans mimicked them. Over time, the festival blended with Roman traditions and later with Christian holidays like All Saints' Day. But the essence remained. This was a day to reckon with death and with what might come for you if you'd made the wrong enemies. So from the very beginning, Halloween has been steeped in wrath. Modern monsters, real rage. Fast forward to today. Halloween is the second biggest commercial holiday in the US after Christmas. We've turned it into a carnival of gore, fear, and chaos. Costumes are more violent. Haunted houses are more extreme. Horror films dominate the box office. And behind it all, there's this almost gleeful embrace of the disturbing. We turn rage into entertainment. Think about it. How many Halloween costumes are based on revenge? Slasher villains, vengeful spirits, undead brides. Characters who were wronged and are now back for blood. Even the pranks and mischief, behind G houses, jump scares, creepy masks, they all lean into power, intimidation, and catharsis. It's not just fear. It's weaponized emotion. And that's wrath. Catharsis or celebration. Now, there's a healthy side to it too. Psychologists argue that horror can be cathartic. It gives us a safe space to process aggression, grief, and anxiety. You scream, you laugh, you walk away. No harm done. But it's worth asking, why is this the one day we feel okay dressing up like murderers or monsters? Why do kids carry plastic machetes and fake blood to school? Why is wrath fun? Because it gives us an outlet, a mask, a permission slip to channel everything we suppress the rest of the year. And if you've ever stood in line for a haunted house thinking, why am I paying to be terrified? You already know that wrath doesn't always wear an angry face. Sometimes it smiles, tilts its head, and invites you inside. Let's start with the obvious. Easter has become visually competitive. We're talking pastel dresses, floral suits, picture-perfect brunches, and carefully curated Easter baskets. Instagram has turned the holiday into a softcore fashion show. Hashtag Easter OTD is a thing. So is hashtag Easter brunch goals. Even the egg hunts? Competitive. Who got the most eggs? Who found the golden one? Who had the biggest basket? It's a holiday that starts with rebirth and ends with comparison. Keeping up with the pastels. Here's the thing about envy. It thrives on what you see. It's not about wanting something for yourself. It's about not wanting others to have it if you can't. And Easter, more than most holidays, puts this on display in such an innocent-looking wrapper. It's a children's holiday on the surface, but the real envy, it shows up between adults. Who posted the cutest family photo? Who had the best floral arrangement? Whose kids looked the cleanest, the happiest, the most coordinated? It's like we took the resurrection of a spiritual leader and turned it into a seasonal lifestyle brand. And look, I'm not here to judge. If dressing up makes you feel joyful, do it. If pastel mimosas are your thing, pour another. But it's worth noticing how easily celebration turns into comparison, and comparison turns into envy. Because envy doesn't shout. It whispers. It tells you you're not doing enough, not celebrating enough, not posting enough, that your joy is less valid if it's not public. And that quiet pressure, it doesn't look very spiritual, does it? So far, we've hit 6 of the 7 sins, and honestly, they've all been kind of sneaky, hiding in plain sight. But this last one, it's not hiding. It's waving at you from a flagpole with a sparkler. Welcome to pride. Now, before we dive in, let's make one thing clear. There's nothing wrong with being proud of where you come from. Cultural pride, community pride, historical reflection, those are powerful, necessary things. But what we're talking about here is excessive pride. The kind that blinds us. The kind that makes us feel superior. The kind that divides instead of unites. That's what the old moralists called a deadly sin. And on the 4th of July, also known as Independence Day in the US, you can see it on full display. Pride wrapped in a flag. Let's walk through the scene. It's hot. There's a grill going. There are coolers full of beer. Fireworks are lined up like weapons in someone's driveway. People are wearing American flag tank tops, bandanas, socks, and even bathing suits. There's nothing subtle about this holiday. And honestly, that's kind of the point. The 4th of July is a celebration of America's independence from British rule, marked by the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. It's about freedom, autonomy, and national identity. But over time, it's become a performance of patriotism. And performance, when it goes unchecked, can tip into ego. When pride becomes a spectacle, national pride is complicated. It can be unifying, but it can also be weaponized. Ever heard the phrase, "my country," right or wrong? That's the voice of pride when it's turned inward and refuses to self-reflect. And on Independence Day, that kind of pride gets loud. It shows up in aggressive political statements, in exclusionary rhetoric, in arguments that suggest loving your country means never questioning it. Even the way we tell the story of the US, the sanitized version, where everything is about bravery and liberty, can erase the darker truths. Genocide, slavery, inequality, or pride doesn't want to hear about those things. It says, don't ruin the party. It insists everything is fine, as long as the fireworks go off on time. The danger of unchecked identity. This isn't just about the US, by the way. National holidays around the world, from Bastille Day in France to Russia Day to China's National Day, often walk a fine line between celebration and self-exaltation. And when pride gets involved, it becomes less about shared values and more about superiority. Look how great we are. Look what we've built. Look how we compare to them. That's when a celebration of identity turns into a hierarchy. And again, it's not about not being proud. It's about how we express it. Whether we're using that pride to include others or push them away. So yeah, fireworks are fun. Barbecues are delicious. But behind the boom, there's a very old, very human tendency to see ourselves as the best and ignore everything that doesn't fit that story. That's pride, loud, flashy, and convinced it's earned every spark. Okay, so we've been around a calendar. Gluttony, greed, lust, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride, each with its own date, its own decorations, its own excuses. And now we're here, staring at this weirdly elegant pattern. So, what does it mean? Here's the thing, this theory, it's not about canceling holidays. It's not about making you feel guilty for liking turkey or giving presents or watching fireworks. It's about observation, about noticing. Because the 7 deadly sins weren't just random moral no-nos. They were psychological. They were meant to describe the stuff that drives human behavior, our cravings, our impulses, our blind spots. And what are holidays if not giant cultural mirrors, reflecting all the things we care about? The psychological patterns. Let's break it down again, quickly. Thanksgiving, celebration of gratitude, that somehow became a binge. Christmas, a birth of selflessness, now built around buying and wanting. Valentine's Day, a feast of martyrdom, transformed into commercialized desire. New Year's Day, a time of renewal, but often a fog of escapism. Halloween, a ritual of fear and respect for the dead, now a festival of simulated rage. Easter, a resurrection of hope, now filtered through soft envy and pastel pressure. 4th of July, a declaration of freedom, reimagined as unchecked nationalism. That's not coincidence. That's culture. And maybe the reason we see these sins reflected in our holidays isn't because the holidays are bad, but because we are complicated, messy, human. Celebration as reflection. At their core, holidays give structure to the year. They tell us when to gather, when to feast, when to mourn, when to hope. But they also reveal our values, what we celebrate, how we celebrate it, and why we do it the same way every year. Maybe we don't need to cancel anything. Maybe we just need to notice. Because when you notice, you get to choose. You get to ask, am I eating out of gratitude or out of habit? Am I giving out of love or guilt? Am I resting to recharge or to avoid? Those are the real questions. And that's what makes this theory so powerful. It doesn't accuse. It just points out the patterns and lets you decide what to do with them. So, are holidays celebrations of sin? Maybe. Or maybe they're just proof that humans are still trying to figure it all out. That even when we dress things up in lights and songs and sugar, we're still wrestling with the same old temptations, just in festive wrapping. And honestly, there's something kind of beautiful about that. Because it means the calendar isn't just about time passing. It's about us. The whole messy, glittery, emotional package. So what do you think of today's video? Do you see the sins in your holidays? Or do you think it's all just coincidence? Are we giving vice a vacation? Or just finding meaning in the madness? Tell us in the comments. Do you have something you want us to feature next? It would also mean a lot to us if you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And remember, close the book if you can. This is Black Chapter.